Dome in Rosemont, Illinois, for some more men's 16-inch winter action. And this is a beautiful building here. So tonight we got the 45's playing with pretty much their entire team that we anticipate they're going to be having during this season, and a little bit of a mix and match Flashline, which has a lot of flash guys, money line guys, and a couple others sprinkled in just for a little bit of flavor. So it should be a pretty good ball game. We got some of the best major players in the game going to be participating in this one. Again, this is 16-inch style softball, 60-foot bases. You can lead off, but you can't steal. 38 feet from the rubber to home. And we're going to be showing you the drag step, one step left, right, or back the pitcher can take. 6-12 on the arc. 2 fakes or hesitation. Third arm action must be to deliver the ball home. Throw or a fake to a base is considered one of your fakes or hesitations. This is a very 6-12 on the arc, and I want to say they're playing 1-1. Not sure about that. 4 home runs only, as this is one of the smaller dimensions that we'll play on. 210 down the lines, 235 to dead center field. It is all turf, very short fence out there, maybe 3.5 feet tall. So we do see a lot of ground rule doubles, and you can only hit 4 home runs. After that, it's an out. Anything that hits the roof in fair territory or foul territory can be caught for an out before it hits the carpet. If it hits the carpet in fair territory off the roof, it is a live ball, and it's all the runner can get. Last night we were over by first base. Tonight we're going to give you a little different view of the game from third base, and should be a pretty good ball game. A lot of players out here tonight with good motors. So if you're watching on the chat, feel free to drop a comment in there so that I can make sure that everything is working and up to speed. So please feel free to drop something in there and let me know that you're seeing it on the chat. So here's the leadoff man, Anthony Sanchez, Izzy Sanchez's son. Izzy, of course, longtime 45, and he does run this ball club. So, and there's a swing, and he leads off with a base hit. So right off of the bat, he took the big turn, but he's going to head on back, and he's going to make sure that he wasn't caught out on the bases. Sorry, a little distracted. So here's Jimmy Moretti. Last year, Jimmy was, of course, with the Hex Club, and Jimmy this year has come over to the 45's. They've picked up a couple of guys. Mike Marola, another one of their pickups for this year, coming over to play with them. They retooled a little bit, brought Kelly Patton in to help a little bit with the management. And there's a little flip the other way coming in. Julian Gutierrez makes the catch, and that'll be out number 1 here. So we are in the top of the first, just underway here. Brings up Nate Mercado. Of course, Nate, one of the better two-way players in the game. It's a very solid shortstop. And Nate swings a little ground ball, Brian Davis, and they can't get the double play. So Davis got it okay. He made a good, strong throw over to Mike Myers, the short center. Mike's throw just kind of tailed. So it's going to end up being fielder's choice. Brings up Vince Acey. And, you know, folks, we're getting a little glare off of that roof. And there's a swing, and Vince turns and burns. And big turn by Nate. He'll go back. Davis thought about it. So nice swing there by Vince Sacy as he just turned and hooked it into left field. And a good job there by the left fielder to get it in quickly, keeping a very speedy Nate Mercado at second. So here's Jeff Mastari, legacy kid. And Jeff goes high and deep toward the gap, and that ball gets over to center fielder, and it bounces out of play. It'll be a ground rule double. It will score the first run of the game as Jeff Mastari drove it into left center field. And again, short fence out there. Center fielder couldn't get to it. Made a good try. Ian Holst, another kid that's going to be playing with Moneyline this year. Nice pickup. So 2 out now, second and third. And it brings up Chris Lentine. Of course, a couple years back, Chris was a co-MVP at the SSA Major National Championship Tournament along with Nate Mercado when the 45's won that year. And he takes that pitch. And that pitch is a little deep. And that's going to bring up Scotty. You guys might remember Scotty from his days with Boom and Avalanche. I haven't seen him in a while. Looks like he's in pretty good shape. Of course, Scotty lives, if I'm not mistaken, out in Indiana, and he's actually, if I'm not mistaken, a Boilermaker. And I don't mean a Purdue Boilermaker.
Another strike? Another strike?
So they got a pretty good lineup here tonight. No real soft touches for the 45's, and that ball splits the gap, and that's going to be up in the net, and that'll be a ground rule double. It does score another run, 2-0. Back-to-back ground rule doubles here. Plated a couple of runs. And here comes Billy Smith. This has got the potential to be a very high-scoring game. And like I said, we're getting a little glare off of that side thing there, so I think between innings we'll rotate back to first. And Billy Smith high and deep toward the gap, and Holst can't get it, and think it hit the top of the roof and it stayed in play. And Billy Smith cruises in. And I believe that's 2 more runs that have scored here. That ball hit the very top of the fence and stayed in play. Ian Holst is just kind of walking around. Looks like he's okay, but Rob Grisano is giving up a couple of absolute bombs here. Brings up Danny Villarreal, 9th hitter. And Danny, a slow roller. Davis comes in and makes the play, and that'll be the 3rd out. But in the inning, I think I got this wrong. I want to say it's 5-0. They got 4 on the board. That may not be the right score. JP, is that the right score, 4? I think it's 5. Ramis. Is it 5? Yeah, so that makes sense. We did the math. 9 guys hit, 1 left on. Take 3 outs. That means there had to be 5. So I did miss a run there, and they missed it on the scoreboard. So we're going to rotate around here. And you can see now as we look back a little less glare. So I like to switch it up. So the 45's, at one point it looked like maybe Flashline was going to get out of that inning. But then they started unloading with a lot of extra base hits. But Moneyline's got a pretty good offensive lineup here as well. And it's going to be Brian Davis, Julian Gutierrez, Mike Manzella. If anybody gets on, Rob Grisano. So this could end up being a high-scoring game. And Davis trying to go the other way up into the netting, foul down that left field line. So this second session out here just started yesterday. We came out here. Heck's very impressive last night. Really laid it on Signature in a mercy rule run game. And then they went out and they won the second game. They beat up March a little bit. So they came out of the gate winning too. Mike Marola jumps up and knocks it down for the first out. So that's going to bring up Julian Gutierrez. So the 45's drove a couple of balls, but they did not get out. I think there's a little misnomer. I think people think the ball flies in the dome, but I have a theory on that. And there's a long one way back near the fence, and it's out. So that was a bomb. You don't necessarily want to use one of your four on a solo. It does get them on the board 5-1 and brings up Mike Manzella. We talk all the time in this dome that you want to use those judiciously. You hope to have a couple of guys on base at least. So here's Manzella, but I have a theory. And that ball shot the other way, and that's trouble, and that's going to be a ground rule double. We told you we see quite a few ground rule doubles, and that's a nice stroke there by Manzella as he just hit it good, hit it the opposite way. So with one out, it'll bring up Rob Grisano. Of course, Robbie is what I like to call hillbilly strong. And when he wants to really drive a ball, he can. He does do a lot of overhand hard cutting, so you never quite know what he's going to do. And again, it's so early in the ball game. I don't know if you want to use your second home run with just one base runner, but we'll see what Robbie has. No, he tried to guide it, and Marola snags it. Of course, from a defensive standpoint, Mike started out as a center fielder, transitioned his way in to pitching a few years ago. And of course, his uncle is Patty Caputo, who is in the Hall of Fame. Patty was one of the best defensive pitchers the game's ever seen. Here's Nick Drabel. And there's a ground ball, and Mike Marola is going to get 3 assists. So they pick up 1 run on the solo blast. That's all they can get. And we're going to head to the second, 5-1. So I have a theory about home runs in the dome. And because they have got all of this air pumped in here, I think that the air here is a little almost condensed in the sense that it's trying to keep the dome up. So I don't think the ball necessarily flies like it might on a calm, warm day outside. What's up, Chris? Good. Jerry Brown chiming in. So Adam Haas, Isidro Santiago, and there's a ground ball knocked down by Rob Grisano. So both pitchers getting involved in the game defensively. And, of course, we first saw Isidro when he was playing with the Demons, when they were making their run to win the SSA Tom Egzarnik No Glove Class A National Championship out in Oak Lawn a couple of years back. And Isidro kind of a quiet kid, good outfielder, got a hose. Little ground ball hit over to Ryan Russ, playing a little second base today. Of course, Ryan, one of the best defensive left fielders in the game, but today he's playing the infield. So 2 up, 2 down. Brings up Mike Marola with Chuck Regaldo on deck. And again, 45's hitting 13 today, which is allowed here in the Dome. And Mike, a little ground ball over to Myers, and he makes the play. So a quiet 1-2-3 inning here. And we go to the bottom of the second, Flashline getting what they needed, which was a goose egg. It's going to be Rieger, Ryan Russ, and Mike Meyer coming up. So you don't really want to go too dry when you're playing a good offensive team. If you're a Flashline, you want to score. It's, when you sit and you look at it, 45's going dry in the knitting with the lineup they got is kind of a bonus. I see Jerry Brown chiming in. I don't know if you saw the post, Jerry Brown, but Nathaniel Early was talking about why guys don't go to 4 outfielders more often. 16-inch softball. Here's Rieger. And I posted on there that my guy Jerry Brown did against Flashback in a Westchester TOC game. Ground ball to Mercado, and he makes the out. So Nate playing a little short center today, as they got Jeff Mastari playing shortstop. And it'll be interesting to see what the 45's do when the season starts, and whether or not they have a desire to. There's Red Davis.
Go Trump, go Trump.
Again, we don't endorse political candidates. We are not a political entity. And there's a ground ball to Nate Mercado. So 2 up, 2 down here brings up Mike Myers. So Joe Carb says that Nate Mercado's going to play short center. And really, it's kind of a little bit of a game changer. I always thought Nate, who's a great shortstop, would have a great effect on a game as a short center. When I was with Flashback, me and Jeff Hernandez were trying to recruit Nate to come. At that time, we had Ralph Lawrence, who I fully believe deserves to be in the Hall of Fame someday, playing shortstop. And teams used to always try to beat Gibbs up the middle, and we were trying to convince Nate that if we put him at short center with the rest of the guys we had on the infield, that might have been one of the best infields ever assembled, but he was a younger player at that time and had his heart set on playing shortstop and ended up going over to the 45's. And the rest is, in essence, history. So it's going to be Chuck Regaldo and then the top of the 45 lineup with Anthony Sanchez and then Jimmy Moretti. So yeah, Jerry Brown in a Westchester TOC game played 4 outfielders against Flashback. And there's a high pop-up center fielder, Ian Holst. Only had to move a step or two, puts it away for out number 1. And the strategy was working brilliantly until one of the outfielders on Solutions dropped a fly ball. And it would have been a nice upset. I don't know 100%, Randy, but somebody told me that he did want to come out this year. And, this far out, who knows? So 1 out, nobody on here. As we are in the top of the 3rd, a ground ball, and Mike Myers, you don't normally see that. Mike, a very, very sure-handed infielder, And the one thing we always liked about Mike was when he fields a ball, he keeps his head down right on the ball. That time the ball jumped up, and there's a little overhead swing, and that ball's way out of play. So 1 on, 1 out. So a lot of really good players getting some work in today. And I tell you, if all of these guys are on the 45's, and there's a little overhand cut, base hit, right fielder gets on it and throws it in. So Chris Downs, I believe, is going to be a rotational part-time piece for Moneyline this year. And I think they're just trying to save Ryan Russ a little wear and tear here. So first 1 out, 2 on here for Mercado, and he scalds one to Davis. Davis, pretty crafty, gets the double play, and I got to tell you, he sold it. Because look here on the replay, watch what Davis does. He hits it up, he actually looks to see where the runners are, and then he just lets the ball drop, and he picks up the double play. The umpire very easily could have said no on that and could have called the hitter out and kept it right there. So Brian Davis, good job there, got the umpire to bite on it. Of course, the best at that was Bob Russ Jr., Hall of Fame first baseman, long-time lettuce and flash player. And Jr. would do that a lot on balls and get umpires to buy in that he dropped it. Because the rule is if you can make the catch with an ordinary effort, then the hitter is out. Because they don't want people putting base runners. And Chris Downs going Oppo leads off this bottom of the third with a base hit. And that's going to bring up Ian Holst. And you could make the argument that on that line drive that it was hit so hard that maybe that's not a routine effort. But once you pop it in the air and have time to look around and gauge where it's coming down, I think you could have made the argument that he should have made that play. So here's Holst. And Holst, a little slow roller. Nate Mercado will come and just take the out at first. Good hustle by Chris Downs. He got a good enough break. Ball wasn't hit that well. But Chris, hustling all the way, got past Nate Mercado. And at that point,
Nobody near you, 1 out, nobody near you.
and there's Frank Jekyll, ground ball, picked up and thrown across by, Jeff Mastari. Of course, Jeff has got an absolute hose. He just flipped it over here effortlessly, and they're back to the top of their lineup with Brian Davis. So big hitter here. Of course, you got these 4 guys that are up right now. This part of the lineup, Brian, Julian, Michael, and Rob all got home run power. You'd like to see if you're a Flashline guy, you would like to see 1 or 2 hits and then have either Mike Manzella or Robbie launch one. And you can see Mike Marola trying to stay up in the air. He doesn't want to flatten out too. And there's a swing opposite field, long run, And chasing it down is Anthony Sanchez for the third out. So Davis tried to walk the dog down the right field line. Got a little too much air, and it's nice to see Anthony moving. Got a good jump on it last year toward the end of the year. Toward the end of the year, he had a lot of hamstring issues and leg issues and ended up getting hurt. At the major national championship tournament.
Get off the number now, huh? Can't play, you'll get one.
I'm sorry, Jerry. What, JR who? So it's going to be, as we move to the top of the fourth.
Who's up? Let's go!
So Vince Sacy really taking his time getting in the box. I think some of the 45 guys were getting on him. Of course, the way this league is set up, 2 games, and these teams all play double headers. So even though they started a little late, they had kids soccer going on. And even though they're supposed to be out by 8:30, they went about 10 minutes deeper than they probably should have. And Sacy, Ryan Russ from his knees. Let's check that out. The Gold Glove left fielder making a pretty nifty play there at second. From the seat of his pants, plenty of arm. So Ryan Russ, a little highlight reel. And there's a hard ground ball, and it sneaks through for Jeff Mastari. Yeah, Ryan Russ actually played 1 game with Mudville. He was a very young player with just kind of trying to get into it, and he was not really ready at that point. He needed a lot of seasoning. And there's a little off the bat spinner. Ryan's just going to take the out here at first. So they get the hitter. 2 outs now. Brings up Scotty. If you're Flashline, you'd like to get out of here. So, and there's a fly ball the other way. Gutierrez belly catch. So we're going to head now to the bottom of the fourth, still 5-1. So came out, he played 1 game. I told Bob Rush Jr. that he still needed a lot of seasoning. Nicky Gatta took him on traffic, and it took Ryan a couple of years, but he started to develop. Started out as a center fielder, got moved to left field, and just took to that position like a duck to water. And of course, Ryan's uncle, Randy Russ, one of the best left fielders in the game, until he broke his patella up in Mount Prospect one year. No gloves. This is Chicago 16-inch style softball, James. So here's Julian Gutierrez. And Julian, a little humpback. Nice job there by Danny Villarreal. So that ball was hit hard right into the breadbasket. Villarreal, jack of all trades, can play anywhere on the infield. Hung right in there. Can see he snatched it before it even hit the carpet. And brings up Manzella. So like I was saying, James, here in Chicago, 99% of what we do is no glove. And there's a wicked humpback. Can't make the catch, and Manzella will hustle into second. So Isidro got to it. Looked like he got handcuffed. And it's a 16-inch clincher, and before you ask me, it is not a mush ball. Comes out of the box pretty firm, and it maintains its consistency very well, especially on turf. So here's Rob Grisano. And Robbie goes high and deep, and that ball is in the net. Told you he's a strong kid. Second home run for Flashline. Puts a quick deuce on the board now, 5-3. Marola's been doing a good job, but Robbie's a problem because he can baseball swing you if you get flat. And because he hits so many balls over the top, even if you throw it up there, he can still drive it a long way with that high swing. So 2 home runs in the books for Flashline. They've cut it to 2, and here's Nick Drabel. Well, that was hit out to left center, Moj. It went about 225. And here's Drabel. Little ground ball to Scotty. Hung right in there. He kind of rushed the throw. Now, Scotty was always an outfielder. And like I said, we haven't seen him play much, so I would think it might take him a couple of games maybe to kind of get used to throwing the ball again. Not quite sure how much he'd been playing the last couple of years. Here's Chris Rieger. He sweeps it to Villarreal, and that's going to be the 3rd out. The 45's are going to have a very solid infield. There's no doubt about that. As we're going to head to the top of the 6th inning here, or 5th inning, excuse me. And they are going to have a good infield, but I think the key for them is getting outfield depth. And I'm not sure if Scotty is going to be playing any outfield for them, but they do have Mike Marola, who can play the outfield. Started out as a center fielder. And, of course, Scotty was a center fielder for a lot of years. And picking up Isidro to go along with Chuck Regaldo and Anthony Sanchez. This might be one of the deeper outfielders. And there's a sky-high fly ball, hits the roof, and it's going to drop in for Billy Smith. So a little roof shot falls in there and brings up Villarreal. This is not the 50 and over, Nathan. We had that game last night, the championship game. If you go down 1 or 2 posts, you'll see it. Takers played the 55's and won. Or the 55's won. So you could check that game out if you like. So here's Villarreal. See, Chris Rieger just got a ridiculous amount of energy. Of course, Ace Rogers got that kind of energy as well. So here's Villarreal. And of course, I usually mention it. I haven't today, but Mike Manzella is a left-handed throwing catcher. So kids, you got to pay attention to that. And Danny Villarreal and Julian, a little bobble. Safe. That was close. I don't believe that Chris Rieger was still on the bag. We'll get a quick replay of it. If Julian didn't bobble it, there would have been a good, well, actually, he might have been on there. But what I was getting at is when the catcher's left-handed and you're a base runner at first, you got to pay attention to that. Here's Adam Hawes. And Adam's got enough power to get out of here as well. Because he doesn't have to do much. He could literally grab the ball with his left hand and snap off a throw to try to pick you off. Little ground ball, and right where he should be, coming right into the kitchen there, was Rob Grisano. Good job by Rieger to get the ball. And it looked for a split second that Robbie almost got caught napping, but can see last minute he got over there. So here's Isidro. Of course, Chris played for Chicago Dynasty for a lot of years. Now he's a member of Whale, Jackson Perry's ball club. And I think it's going to be a fun year this year. A lot of the top teams did improve, and we saw a lot of improvement too through that middle and upper A division. So Isidro draws a walk. First time he's been on base as a 45. So brings up Mike Marola with Chuck Regaldo on deck. And again, if you're Flashline, you want to keep this close. Line drive right at the shortstop, Nick Drabel. Of course, Nick normally a short center. So that ball was hit hard. No love. We go bottom fifth. Still 5-3. Leading off, it's going to be Ryan Russ, then Mike Myers and Chris Downs. Again, we are live from the Rosemont Dome. SSA Game of the Week. No playoffs at Intentional Sports tomorrow. We mentioned this yesterday. They have a tendency to overbook there. And Ryan Russ, it's not going to scrape the wall. And as a result, can of corn for Anthony Sanchez, out number one. Brings up Mike Myers. 45's have certainly hit the ball harder than Flashline has tonight, but Flashline only down a deuce here. So Intentional Sports, they're going to try to finish that semifinal championship game April 11th. That's next Friday. And we'll be out there. Little ground ball. Mastari, ball jumped up. Again, that's Rust. That ball was a belt-high bounce, and it hit his hands, and he just dropped it. And Mike Myers throwing stuff at me. I don't know what that's about. So here's Chris Downs, and Chris tries to muscle up, and he beats Sanchez in the gap for a double. Chris Downs, not known as a power hitter, leaned on that. It bounced a couple of feet in front of the wall out in left center and up and into that netting. And here's Ian Holst. Tying runs on in scoring position with one out. Frank Jekyll on deck. We'll see if they hit for him. According to the lineup card, they got Dosen and it says Iggy, but I don't think I saw him. And that hits the rough, and that isn't going to score a run there. So towering fly ball hit the rough. 2 outs now. It's up to Frank Jekyll. Again, in a dome league, sometimes you let guys hit. But I think Ian was trying to do a little too much, a little too hopper to second. Would have got you closer, and he guides it, and Frank comes through, and he's going to hit a 2-run, 2-out double. So Frank, big hit, ties the ball game. I like that. He didn't try to do too much. Again, it looked like Anthony might have been shaded toward the line, thinking maybe he was just going to flip it over the left side, and he went hard to the gap. Now Brian Davis with a base hit can put Flashline in front for the first time. Big hit there, and we got symmetry working, 5-5 in the fifth. So Davis has tried to go the opposite way twice. And there he tries to do it a third time, little confusion, but Mastari makes the play. But at the end of 5-5, as we're going to roll into the sixth. So now that the game is tied, I would have liked to have seen Brian Davis try to turn and burn there. Even though you used a couple of home runs, that wouldn't have been a horrible time to hit one. And not to mention his 3 swings the opposite way have not been up to his normal standards. So Brian's been a devastating offensive player for a lot of years. So here it looks like J-Rob is going to pinch hit. For Chuck Regaldo, and then he'll be the top of the lineup. So big test coming up here. And Chris Rieger did a great job to get there. Was screaming. So Chris joking he got scared there. And no, Gio was nowhere near in the way. So new life for J-Rob. Little slapper. So they catch the break. They gave J-Rob an extra hack at it, but no hit. Top of the lineup.
Hey, who just said that?
So that brings up Anthony Sanchez. Again, this is a big inning here. You'd like to be able to get through this with no runs. And the good news is, as we head to the seventh, we are going to see a lot of road graders between now and the end of the ball game. Ground ball, Nick Drabel in time. So Nick doing a good job, normally a short center. Very calm, very smooth there as he gets the left-handed hitting Anthony Sanchez by a step. And there's a swing and a foul ball by Jimmy Moretti. So again, the 45's still have 4 home runs, and they got a plethora of home run hitters that'll be swinging the bat from here on out in this portion of their lineup. And there's a fly ball. Holst is there, puts it away. So we're going to head to the bottom of the sixth, tied at 5. So you got Gutierrez, Manzella, Grisano, all home run threats coming up in the top of the 7th. The 45's will have Nate Mercado, Vince Sacy, Jeff Mastari, Chris Downs, Scotty Billy. These guys all can go yard. So I think if you're Flashline, what you may want to do is get yourself a lead here. And I don't know if even 1 or 2 runs here is going to be enough, because we're at that point in the game now where these home runs are like timeouts in basketball. They don't do you any good at the end of the game. And Gutierrez hits his, no, too much top hand, and Isidro got there. That ball had some wicked topspin to it. You can see Isidro thought that was going to be about shoulder high. And by the time he got to him, the ball dipped a little bit. And he had to catch it with a downward motion. So 1 out, here's Manzella. And this really is the part of the lineup that if you're Flashline, you need this part of your lineup to do some damage. .45's 5 in the first, haven't scored since. Little ground ball. Everybody where they should be for out number 2. And that's going to bring up Rob Grisano. So here's Grisano now. 2 outs, nobody on. And Rob's done okay after that rough first inning. And Rob, hard to center, but handled easily by Chuck Regaldo. So we're going to go to the 7th, all tied at 5. And I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised. I thought there was going to be a little more offense in this contest. Defense been pretty good by both sides. And both pitchers, Mike Marola and Rob Grisano, have done a pretty good job. And right now, Robbie's looking for his 6th straight goose egg to try to give his ball club a chance to win it in the bottom of the 7th, walk-off style.
Now I got 2 swings.
But it ain't going to be easy. Mercado Mastari, or Sacy Mastari. Anybody gets on. Chris. And Mercado leads off, and it just short hopped in front of Chris Downs. Hard line drive with a lot of top spin. That ball was digging. I think Chris froze right off the bat on it. And here's Sacy. Again, keep in mind, they've got all 4 of their home runs. And these guys coming up, Vince, Jeff, Chris, Scotty, Billy, all got massive power. A little nerve-wracking for a pitcher. And Sacy wicked, and Downs can't make the catch. Now it bounced away. Forget about Mercado. He's in. So Chris Downs came in on the ball, couldn't make the shoot-string catch. Ball went through his hands, hit his foot, and then started rolling toward the left field line. And that brings up Mastari. Now, Chris Downs back in the day was a fabulous outfielder. He's got a little mileage and age on him now. And Mastari loses this one. And Holst jumped up, ended up going overboard. 2-run bomb for Mastari. And just like that, it's 8-5. Again, this is what you wanted the guys in the Flashline to do. Holtz got back there, timed it up, but the ball was just too far gone. So they scored in the first, now they've scored in the 7th. Nobody out here, and here's Chris Lentine. And Chris, to Robbie, stays with it for out number 1. It brings up Scotty. Billy on deck, and wouldn't surprise me if Scotty should get on deck here if Billy didn't try to launch one. And there's a little fly ball, and that's a little roof special. And they keep Scotty to a single on that. I'd be surprised if Billy didn't try to go deep here. Looks like Joe Pauly may have grabbed the bat. And he may be hitting. And he goes opposite field. That's going to fade foul. So Flashline in this game couldn't really get their offense on track. And again, a lot of that. And Billy right up the chute does not hit the roof. That'll be out number 2, and Joe Pauly is going to hit for Danny Villarreal. And it's going to be interesting. 45's a lot more depth than they've had the last few years. And I think that's intentional in the sense that they had many games last year when they showed up with 10 or 11, and that's just not a 45 trademark. And Davis stayed with it and flips the long bounce. Do or die bottom of the 7th coming up. As Flashline needs 3 to tie, 4 to walk them off, anything less. And the 45's will open up this late winter, early spring session here in the Rosemont Dome with the win. So it's going to be Nick Drabo leading off, Chris Rieger and Ryan Ross. Ryan certainly has the pop to get out of here, and we've seen him hit home runs. Flashline could get a couple of people on. Might be something to look at. And Drabo, a little fly ball that may have grazed the roof, but Mastari way far down the line stayed with it. We talk all the time, if you're an infielder on anything hit that high, you got to chase it because you never know if it's going to hit the roof, and it just barely scraped the roof enough to where that would have been a difficult catch for a left fielder. So down to their last 2 outs now. Here's Chris Rieger. I believe that was called inside. And Rieger swings, he goes opposite field, and diving catch by Chuck Regaldo. As he tumbles out there, robbing Rieger of at least 2, maybe 3. Nicely done there by Chuck Regaldo. And I've talked to Chuck in the past, and I think sometimes the 45's defensively take him for granted. I think he could very well be the most important player on their team because he covers so much ground in center field, but he's had a lot of cramping and leg issues. And I've tried to encourage him to. And Ryan Ross, and this will do it. And the 45's come out of the gate. They beat Flashline 8-5 for their first win here of this dome session. Pretty good ball game, good defense. Offense a little sparser than I thought it was going to be. And and you see the team shaking hands. So long way to go. We'll see how the playoffs shake out here as this session progresses. So on behalf of the SSA, Sweet Buzz, don't forget about them. You can talk to Nick Drabel. Anyways, like I was saying, I'll finish up this thought before we sign off. Every time Chuck has got hurt in a tournament, the 45's have collapsed because they didn't have that outfield depth. They got a little bit more of it this year, but of the guys I'm looking at, maybe Isidro could maybe go out there, but he is a bona fide beast in center field. So anyways, on behalf of Sweet Buzz, the SSA, this is Gio. Thanks for tuning in. We love you. Be safe wherever you're at, and we'll talk to you